Hi, my name's Annie and today I'm going to be talking about polytunnels. For growing your own fruit and veg, do you need a polytunnel? No, not really. But with the changing climate, I found it's better to have one if you've got the space, whether that be small or large. But the question is a green polytunnel and a cheap green polytunnels worth the money, or should you just go for a clear one? Through this video you'll see what I've got growing in here and what I've got growing in a green one, and then you'll know the answer. If you really want to be growing food all year round, you really do need a polytunnel or similar thing. We are on Easter Sunday and I've already got food in here that I can eat. I've been doing lots of little tests over the last couple of years to see what will grow and what won't grow all year round in here. Then I could also upscale it if I wanted to. I'll give you a little walk around on what's actually growing in here at the moment. I'll start behind the door. I've just got a bag of potatoes. These were potatoes that were self-seeding somewhere else. I bagged them up and put them in. They're doing really well. And some rocket that will stay there all year round, and some tomato plants. There were a couple of ones that I just put in last minute. Again, these are potatoes. They were already in here. I do grow them in here, so I have very early potatoes. This is celery. These were just roots that I planted in, and they're growing really well. I do have some seeds in, but they're tiny. But this is really surprised me how quick it has grown. Just a couple of beetroot and a couple of onions. Again, they were in the compost heap. I planted them in to see what they do. The greens I can have in salads. This is radishes. Already had quite a lot from the radishes. It's not just the bulbs that are edible, but the greens are also edible, cooked up like celery. These lettuces have been grown now for a little while. These were actual self-seeders from around the polytunnel that I just found and planted in. These are my seeds that I put in about 3 weeks ago. That's the sugar beet, celery. We've got echinacea there for natural antibiotic, some leeks. I planted red lentils. There's just you can't see it on the camera, but they are just beginning to come through. They've taken ages. I was beginning to think they weren't going to do anything, but they are coming good. What I've been really pleased about this year is I took some cuttings of the beech, the hazel, but also the laurel. I started transplanting the laurel yesterday because I wanted to see how they were doing, and they're doing really well. You can see great big roots, and all I did was I took little cuttings, put them straight in the soil and put this glass down over them the same time as I did the seeds, and I think they've taken about 5 weeks to get that root, so I'm really pleased on those. Peas are doing really well. Early sprouting broccoli, I've already been harvesting that. There's loads to come for that today. Spring onions are growing. That's just some marigolds and some coloured chard there. Then we've got some more tomato plants. I've left them in the pots for now, just so that I can transplant them wherever I want to, easy, without disturbing the roots too much. You'll also notice that I've got some fat hen, which again are self-seeders from that I found them in the polytunnel. So I put them all in one area so that I can transplant them outside. That's a natural plant that comes back every year, self-seeds every year, and you can eat it like spinach. So that's a plant I'm going to put in one area, so that it's another one that I don't have to work towards. Natural plants like the fat hen, Alexander, stuff like that red valerian. They all grow really well, and the pests, they don't seem to bother with them. Over here I've put some carrots and some more radishes in that little bed there. Again, my very early potatoes will be ready fairly soon. Pumpkins and beetroots all doing really well. Cucumbers, I put in outside cucumbers, but I always grow them inside. I prefer the outside cucumbers for pickling. They store really well. It's just some more seeds, like peas and stuff. Again, some cucumbers and pumpkins. I don't know what is eating that bean. It seems to be the only affected thing. I've put stuff around it, I've sprayed it, but something's having a good old munch. So I don't know if anybody can comment on what might be doing that. I just don't know. Some more green beans. I planted them all up inside so that I can get a very early crop. And again, just to see how they get on this time of the year in here and give everything a head start. This is my polytunnel that's made out of all recycled bits, apart from the plastic that we did buy. Even the wood around the bottom was old post and rail fencing that we took down when we bought the land. It was all falling down, but I stain it once a year and it's done really well. On this site originally I had a 3 metre by 6 metre green hooped polytunnel, one of the cheap ones, but it didn't last very long, so we built this out of recycled bits. This is my green polytunnel that I bought about 5 years ago. It's lasted really well. The frame's lasted really well because it's up off the ground. We put some sleepers underneath it, but the zips didn't last at all well on the front, even though we're in quite a sheltered position here. I found when I've bought them in the past, you really need to buy ones that have got the doors in rather than the zips, because it's the zips that's going to fail first. The other thing about these green polytunnels is I've never really had much growing success in them. I've got some rocket here that grows all year. Stuff grows at the front, and it only really grows properly at the back because last year I opened up the back. I've got some glass across the front, just some old panes that we were given front and back just to keep the cats off. But last year I did manage to grow tomatoes and that quite successfully at the back. I think the first year I had them, I grew some pop chow through the winter in here and little bits like that. But it's never really, it's always been a bit disappointing. I'm going to give it a last chance this year and plant shade vegetables and lettuces and things like that to see if that works any better, because I'm beginning to think that the green is almost like being under a tree canopy a little bit, and maybe that's altering the amount that grows. So this is the inside of the polytunnel. You can see I've got it plasticked all the way around. The actual system works really well. It's just seems to be quite dark in here compared to the little polytunnel that I've got next door. This one I start seeds off, and I can also move it around. If I've put stuff out and I've expected frost, I can pick it up and move it. You could do maybe two, half this size would be more portable. The other tip I wanted to give you while I was down here is my compost bin. I watched it on YouTube a few years ago that if you drill holes in the top of these little plastic compost bins, it rots down 6 times quicker. And it's absolutely true. It makes really lovely compost, whereas before it always ended up a bit smelling, a bit slimy. With the holes in there, the ventilation in there, it really has done its job. So the conclusion of the video is, yes, I would definitely have a polytunnel of some description if I can. I'd rather have a polytunnel rather than a greenhouse. I find the plants like the growing environment more in a polytunnel. I think it's the moisture in the air as well, the humidity. The greenhouses, especially in hot countries, everything would just burn. In here I do actually have some screening for the roof. I screen half the roof off if it gets too hot. Would I buy another green polytunnel? No, I wouldn't. And to be honest, if you are going to buy one, that's fine. You need to make your own decisions on that. The kits like that are good, but if you could get one with a clear cover like I had on the very small tunnel, that'd be a really good option. And then you can just put some shading on it if it gets too hot later on in the year. The courgettes that I've got here, I'm going to be taking home and put in the very small polytunnel, and so that they are still got some protection at the moment in case the weather turns horrible. I can keep an eye on them. So I hope you've found this video helpful and informative. I'd like to thank everybody who's watched my videos, and I hope you all have a successful growing season. Bye.